Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another video. It's very hot today in Portland. It's hot and sunny. And I'm working on my roof deck. I just got back a couple of days ago from Portland and my trike is still missing. I'm trying to keep myself busy while baggage claim with WestJet figures out where it is. I was on the phone with them yesterday. I waited on hold for like 2.5 hours before somebody picked up. Her name was JC. And I answered a bunch of questions. I sent her pictures of the box. I asked her if she could tell me where it was. She says that WestJet doesn't scan oversized items like that at every location, which I found strange. So they couldn't tell me if it was in Dublin or if it was in Calgary or if it had made it to Portland. But I filed a claim. I'm waiting for them. They said to wait 48 hours. So for those of you that don't know, I had a custom 3-wheeled recumbent trike made to put on the back of my van and travel with, and I was in the Czech Republic. Some fun videos, actually. Hope you enjoyed them, if you watched them. But now I've come back, and one of the first things that I want to do with the van before I start heading back to Detroit is I want to get the roof rack finished, and I want to get the solar panels on it, and I want to get the awning on the side of the van. I'm not going to plug them in, I'm not going to use them, but at least they'll be mounted, and then in the future when I get everything hooked up and electrified I can utilize them. But for now I'm just trying to get the things up there, I'm really excited to see this actually. This is a product called Aquagrate. It's very thin, it's extremely strong, so they've got these like little I-beams. Actually, you know what, I can show you what it looks like. I chopped off a slice to see how my cutter would work, and here it is. So this is the profile of that Aquagrate. It's made out of fiberglass. It's very strong. It's lighter than composite board, and it even has this coating surface for walking on. It's designed specifically for water parks and docks and places that are near the ocean because it resists salt and corrosion and everything, and it's very, very, very strong for a walking path. So I called them up. The company's called Aquagrate that makes it, and after some conversation they said, hey, let's send you a piece and let's let you put it on top of your van. And so I was like, okay. I'm about to get cutting, and I thought I'd message you. Now, originally I was going to cut out all these spaces where the solar panel was going to go and all of this stuff, but instead, because I have one solid piece, I'm going to mount this whole deck onto the roof, and then I'm going to figure out how to mount my solar panels to the rack. Because why go and cut this thing if it's all perfectly sized for the top of my van, and that's what they sent me as one solid piece. So I'm going to use my multi-tool here, and I used it to cut this piece off as a test, and it just cut perfectly. So I'm going to cut the area that will go around the MaxxAir fan in the back of the van, and we'll start from there. Sort of excited about it. Okay, that worked out pretty well. I think it'll fit pretty snugly, easy to cut. I am asking the company because they said you might have to put some coating on any cut surface just to protect it, but I think fiberglass, it should be good no matter what. So I have 4 solar panels, and like I said, I was going to cut out all of the openings and put the solar panels flush with the floor. But I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to mount these solar panels to the floor and then do it even before I put it up on the van. Finally, I might actually just put this up on the van just now just to take a look at it. But when I'm ready to do it officially, I'm gonna see if I can mount these solar panels through these grates. I think this is cool because I'll actually be able to, if I wanted to, remove a panel and still have the floor underneath. So we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, and then 4, and then that'll be the layout of the solar panels. And then this is the front of the van, and it's just gonna be completely open. Let me get all 4 panels so I can see how it looks. So bright. So here is the solar panel setup, and then this is the large deck. I think this is long enough to where I could put my legs in the middle and lay down completely between the solar panels. I might be able to put like some deck furniture here and kind of hang out. This is the front of the van, that's the back of the van. But yeah, that's pretty cool. That's very cool. Each of these solar panels has a track around the outside edge, and I can mount the solar panels to the decking using these channels. I'm going to probably mount it here and on either side this way. That way I can use these openings here and maybe put like a large washer there and then just mount them through that, which should work out pretty well. Maybe some of you can appreciate one of the most important tools on this table. Pepto-Bismol. I've had a couple of moments where I'm like, ugh, what did I get myself into? These are kind of neat. These came with the mounting system for ZAMP. They're almost perfect actually, but for the way that I want to mount these panels, none of this hardware is really going to work. The only thing that really will work are these guys, which are going to fit into the track and allow me to screw bolt into the panels. Maybe I could use these as spacers. If I could chop these on some sort of a bandsaw, I could use these as risers. One of the reasons I'm kind of going special on mounting these solar panels is I want to mount them so that they're a little bit difficult to get off. My friend Sylvie has a trailer, like a camper trailer, and she had her solar panels stolen recently. And the bolts were exposed, so all they had to do was zip, 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 and then they removed her panels completely. And I think if I can bury the receivers for that underneath, then it might buy me an ability to have a little bit more security. Another thing I want to do is I'm going to take this, drop it down to the ground, and then wrap some ropes around it, and then use the high-low to place it on top of the van. I want to get an idea of how I'm going to mount this to the railings on the top. I have Backwoods Adventure Mods lower profile roof rack. I want to really kind of get it up there so I can see how it looks, and then maybe I can decide and figure out some better ways to mount it to the roof. And then I can bring it back down again, mount the solar panels confidently, and then we can be good to go. I put the extra long forks on the high-low and strapped it down. It's not that heavy, so it doesn't really need that much. I think it's good. Looks good. Let's get on top and see how it looks, and maybe then lower it down a little bit. All right, looks like we're good over the fan. All right, let's see if we can layer down even more. Check this out, guys. Pretty cool. pretty good, and I've got this set up to where I can tuck this a little bit under here, and that should be good. I can even cut a few bolts and bolt these two together. And then in the back here, I need to shift this a little bit farther forward, and then I can tuck the back underneath the rear bar here, and then do the same thing where I take some bolts and I through bolt it, and I maybe put a aluminum plate across the bottom and then suck it up. I am super happy with this. Oh boy, this is a lot better than I thought it was gonna be. I was really nervous about this. This is really, really nice. Holy moly. I'm gonna have to cut a little bit off of there so it can tuck in underneath. I'm gonna get a pencil up here and mark that point, and then the same back here. But it's good. It's really good. Holy moly. Okay, so I notched the two back corners, so they're ready to go. Then I went up front here and I notched these corners, so they're ready to go. And I also cut the flange off of this opening just so that my Max Air fan doesn't have anything to rub against. So looks pretty good. I think I'm going to take that back rail off and then mount the roof rack and then put it back on afterwards. I can even attach attach that to this component here and make sure it's rigid, and then attach it after. So, you know, I had been really afraid of like moving forward with this, but now that I'm like diving into it, I'm finding solutions to problems that I was sort of just rubbing my chin about, and now I'm like, oh, okay, I can do this. Oh, okay, I can do this. Yeah, better to just move forward and then figure it out along the way, I think. Okay, so I took off the rear bar of the DRIFTR rack from Backwoods Adventure Mods. What I want to do is put it on to the frame, center it up, and then bolt it through here to hold the rack up at the back. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount the solar panels as far back as I possibly can so that they're right hanging over the edge like that, sandwiching the rear bar and the rack together. And then I'll put the whole thing back up, and it'll be right as rain. And at this rate, I can kind of get underneath and sandwich them together, and yeah, cool. Hey guys, it is fast forward quite a bit. It's 100 degrees outside. It's very hot. I'm taking out and then I'm going in the shade, and I'm like Groundhog Day. I'm seeing I'm hoping to see my shadow, but it's just so darn hot. I've been busy, and I sort of wanted to give you an update. I'm not recording everything. I'm just trying to figure things out. I've been back and forth to Home Depot and stuff, but this is what we've done. We have taken the rear piece of the DRIFTR rack and we have clamped it down. I put a piece of L channel, aluminum L channel there. So this piece here is super rigid. This piece here is super rigid, and we've got stainless steel hardware that are binding it down. I also drilled holes for the solar panels, and I'm going to thread from the bottom some bolts that will mount the solar panel mounts there. I have these solar panels from Zamp, and they come with these brackets, which I didn't think I was going to use, because what they're designed for is you're supposed to screw them down on the surface of your van, and then you're supposed to shiplap them, like basically shiplaps that thick caulk. Basically, you can see I have one of these underneath, and these openings are just shy of these fitting in here. So all I do is I take a drill and I kind of pull the drill along this opening, and it allows this to just slide right in. And then I affixed a bolt here But on some of these, I didn't even need to affix a bolt because they jammed in so snugly, and the gap underneath is so perfect that when this fits underneath, it won't shift side to side. It is in there pretty good. So, I mean, and once I have it in the in its home there on top of the van, and the solar panels mounted, all I wanted to kind of keep them was from falling down and into the bottom of the van, because then it would be really hard to deal with them. But there's also these ribs. There's these ribs that go the whole length, and when you jam one of these up underneath one of those ribs, it pinches it, so it's actually sandwiched in there, that spot and these two spots. So I didn't even need to put this extra bolt there, because it is like really sandwiched into the fabric or the framework of the Aquagrate here. So I also bought some polyurethane. FiberGrate, I contacted Bill, my buddy there at FiberGrate, and he recommended using, oh no, not that. Where is it? I hope it's not outside. It's so hot. I don't even think I should keep any sorts of paint products outside in the sun. But polyurethane, basically. Just spray polyurethane. And I sprayed everywhere that I cut. And so that's supposed to seal off the fiberglass so it doesn't fray or something. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure why. But he did say if you did make any cuts, to try and put some of this polyurethane on the exposed cut area. And so I've been doing that. We're very close to putting the roof back on, the decking back on, and I'm trying to figure out how to integrate my awning, because it's kind of a chicken egg thing, because the awning mounts through the framework for the DRIFTR rack deck, where the decking is going to lay down. So I have to be able to put the awning on and then lay the decking down. But the decking requires access to bolts. So I've had to remount a bunch of holes on the awning bracket so that I can mount the awning, and then afterwards I can mount the deck. So does that make sense? And I actually messed up the first time, so I'm going to have to pull it down and redo it. But so far, it's looking pretty good. And very, very soon, I think I'll be able to put the awning up there and then put the deck on. One of the other things that I'm dealing with is the deck has these, or the DRIFTR rack has these cross members. And the cross members need to be mounted to the deck, and in a very specific way. Basically, let me show you. Aquagrate provided me with these. They're pretty cool for mounting the deck down onto the ribs of my DRIFTR rack. But you don't have a lot of room to deal with them. So here we got I hope you can see it. My camera's a little bit dusty here. But these fit like this. Let's see here. These fit, I'm sorry about the dust. The camera's super dusty. So these fit here like this. And then so I have to go through the deck and mount them into specific areas on my cross members. And to do it when the rack is on and all those cross members are in the roof deck, the roof rack, is going to be very hard, because obviously I can't get my hand all the way over here to like move things around. So what I'm going to do instead is, well, first of all, I'm going to mount the awning. Once the awning is mounted and good, then I am going to, well, the awning bracket at least. Then I am going to remove all of the ribs, mark them where they are on this rack, and then pre-install all the ribs on the rack. And then once that's done, then I can lift the rack with the ribs mounted onto it, and then mount it onto the DRIFTR rack. So this is the DRIFTR rack here. Here's one of the ribs. It's actually an extra, and you can see, so I've got these little nuts here that will go up and down, and then these nuts are what's going to screw down into these guys. So so I'm going to have to boom, 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 and do all these, and I think it would be much easier to do that when the like with these off the rack as opposed to, you know, on the DRIFTR rack. So does that make sense? Okay, so roof rack continuation. It is the next day from working on the roof rack. I slept on it and tried to think about it, and so I've decided to mount the awning here first, and then I'm gonna wire up my antenna that's gonna go on the outside of the rack. This is the WeBoost antenna. And then I am going to lay out the electronics for my solar panels, and then we'll be good to go. So typically you want to mount this plate here first and then put the awning on it. But I have a bit of a problem. This lip here on the bottom of this plate here is this plate here wraps underneath the awning, and you're supposed to put some self-tapping screws in there to like screw it on. But because my rack goes over and then up, I can't actually access those. So I spent the day sort of pre-attaching the backing plate to the awning, putting those self-tapping screws in, and now I'm just going to put the whole thing up there. It was kind of funny because I spent all this time, I reamed out all these holes, and I was thinking I'm going to have these openings that are going to allow me to access the mounting screws or the mounting bolts for the DRIFTR rack from Backwoods Adventure Mods. But I had a real pain in the ass time for it. So I went to the hardware store and I bought flathead hardware. So I have flatheads now. So the DRIFTR rack will be able to just set perfectly onto the awning will be able to fit perfectly onto the DRIFTR rack. So I've got it all rigged up to the high-low, the lift. So let's put it up there. Let's see how we do. That worked out pretty good. I just want to be able to access it so that I can seal it. I got to put some sealant on the top edge, and then I have it leaning a little bit, so I'll be able to just nestle that. That thing's very heavy, a lot heavier than you think. That was a real pain in the ass to. I was actually putting it up by hand while I was like sort of figuring it out, all the spacing and stuff. Holy moly, that was nerve-wracking. But this way was much better. All right, now I'm going to go up to the top. I have some marine adhesive here that I think it's on its last leg, but we'll use the last leg on this. Okay, so here's all my carriage bolts, and those have to fit here. I got to shift it a little bit over, but once it's up here, I can kind of shift it back and forth. This is a great way to do it, and then after I get it mounted, I'll just pull the straps through, and we'll be good to go. Awesome, awesome possum. Okay, so I put in the nuts on the bottom, and so it's sort of still leaning, but it's attached. Before I screw anything, I bought a whole big, this thing costs like 35 bucks. This is local hardware store price, but it's blue thread locker, but it's not like permanent. I've used that red thread locker, and that stuff will never, ever come off. I mean, I'll break an Allen key before I get anything off. So this is like semi-permanent. It stops against like vibration and stuff, and I'm using it on every bolt pretty much that I screw in. So, or every nut, yeah, bolt, every bolt, every thread. So okay, cool. So far so good. I pulled the strap off, so the awning is now free hanging, and I'm gonna squirt some adhesive here and here where the straps were, and then I'm gonna mount it up. Super easy. Now, just a quick note: when I put that backer plate on the awning, like down on the ground, I wanted to make sure those carriage bolts stayed in place because they basically seat into a square hole. And so what I did is I took some tape and I taped each carriage bolt on the opposite side of this plate here so that the carriage bolts were like stuck in. Then I mounted the awning to the backing plate. Now I'm mounting the whole unit to the van. I couldn't get the caulk out of this thing, the adhesive, so I reversed I just cut it in the back, and I figured I'll just use it all up in here, and I just took a razor blade to the back of the tube. I don't think this is such a necessary thing, to be honest. It's just to seal it so it seals in there. Okay, good to go. That backing tape really worked out well. It held these carriage bolts in there like really firmly. And that thread locker is just going to add. I know these are locking nuts, but what's a little extra security, right? We have an awning! There's an awning up there! I've got to wire it up and make sure that it works properly. But it's up there. It looks good up there. Well, I got my awning connected, but it's not working. I don't know what's wrong. The motor won't actuate. I connected it to the receiver, and that works fine. But it just doesn't look like it's sending a signal, or the motor isn't even working. There's no actuating going on in the motor. Okay, whoa, hey, oh, I'm a ghost. I'm a ghost, I just became a ghost. Hey, check this out. Look at that little awning, just had a little boner. Just, yee. I wanted it, I'm gonna extend this thing for the first time. That's why I stopped. What had happened was I was on the phone with Dometic trying to figure out what the problem was, because I was actually hooking up the motor directly to a charger, which should mimic the power coming from a battery, and the Dometic motor wouldn't actuate in the awning. And so I sat there, I spent hours on it today. What a waste of time. And so on and on and on and on, trying to get it to work, it wouldn't work, wouldn't even turn on. The motor wouldn't even do nothing. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Last ditch effort, I took one of my house batteries and I brought it out here and I connected it directly to the motor. Check it out. Let me explain to you a YouTuber's dilemma. This is a problem that doesn't exist with maybe other people, maybe in different ways. But for me, I set the camera off to the side and I attempted to open my awning. It did open, spoiler alert, and I was super excited. I was saying excited things that were off the cuff and really interesting. Not interesting, exciting. I was excited. All of that raw, real. I worked so hard to get this stupid thing working. I finally got it working. But the battery ran out in the camera, so you lost it. So I'm going to reenact that. I'll try and stay somewhat excited. But the awning is going to work, trust me. If it doesn't, then I'm going to be super pissed. Let's try this again. So I'm going to hook the awning directly up to the battery, and we will extract this. Oh, will it work? Will it work? I don't know. Let's see. It works. Oh yeah. So this Dometic awning is super cool. It's not only electric, but it's really smart. As a matter of fact, it has a couple of sensors on it. If it rains too hard, it has the ability to squeeze this side and tilt so that it dumps the water off, so that it doesn't end up having too much weight on top of the awning. It also has a wind sensor. This thing right here is a wind sensor. If it starts jostling too much, the awning will retract on its own. It also has a remote control, which I don't have directly connected, and a whole bunch of functionality, and it has a strip light up there, which is sort of tucked in there. It's a little bit of a bummer. I don't know how much light is actually going to come off this thing, but it'll certainly be accented. Accented light. We have an awning, guys! Anyways, that was the excitement that I had. I actually still had it, so you still saw it, but... Okay, so this is the rack, and it's all ready to go. I'm mounting all the little brackets on it, and then I'm gonna figure out a way to tape them to the underside, because I'm not gonna be able to access these from the top as soon as the rack goes on. That's one of the reasons why I want to finish wiring up and getting all of the top of that van finished, because once this deck lays down, you're not really going to be able to get underneath it unless you literally take the entire deck off, and I don't want to mess with that. So I'm going to take each one of these guys, mark out its point, and then place it in with the hardware and even the Loctite. And then I bought all the hardware here. This little baggie cost like 40 bucks, maybe 50 bucks. It was expensive. All stainless steel. Stainless steel all the way. Okay, so we have the awning, the Pathfinder lights, and the light for the awning that cruises all the way up here and then does a little 90. And we have the Weeboo system here. And then I am going to put this box from AM Solar right here, and I'm going to be able to pull all my cables down into the van, or put them down, pull them through, you know what I mean. And so I am going to secure this box down right about here. But before I do that, I'm going to get that roof up here, because when I get the roof up here, then I can actually cut that block out, and I can actually you know, do everything after I put the roof rack on. So I think it's about time to put the roof rack on, get it solid, and then all these cables and stuff will find their place in the world. All right, let's take a look. I think it's pretty good. No handhold. Here we are. This is it, I think. Now all I have to make sure is that the tracks line up with the mounts. Got this little notch here for the cables. Hey! We did it! Man, I had a problem in this corner and that corner. Oh my gosh, it was very frustrating. But we got through it, and we're better for it. Now what I'm doing is I'm going through every single one of these preset brackets, and I'm going through, and I've done 3 already. I've got 15 more to go.